Hello everyone, this is the Crimson Cure, welcoming you to the Crimson Tower, a place where we keep a feminine foot on the neck of the gynocracy, feminism, and black male misandry. So go ahead, pull up a chair, stay a while, and listen.
For over 2 decades, we focused on one philosophy, the 10 life values. A system that helps us examine our lives, our vision, our leadership. Our products and our services are exclusively for men, all men. The ones who teach and mentor our kids, maintain our livestock and grow our food, make and repair our products, saves us from catastrophe, and protect our nation. The 10 life values are woven into every product and service we create. Because at the end of the day, our vision is to see all men from every community equipped with the appropriate processes and the necessary tools to be excellent fathers and the best version of themselves they can be.
Hey, how you doing today, my Crimsonites? So I hope you don't mind. I'm gonna be drinking this, my protein drink. It's pretty good. If you're wondering, I use Vega's Essential Shake. That's one of my favorite commercials, Kalila. That 10 Life Values commercial is definitely one of my favorites. Definitely. We actually gonna get into a very serious topic today. So I'm gonna give you a little levity before we give you some weight. I bought myself a birthday present. Well, 2. And here's one of them. I bought a pair of shoes. Just some wedges, clogs, and of course these are genuine Birkenstock. I may wear a dress that comes from Rainbow for $12. But when it comes to shoes, when I am wanting shoes that last, when I buy sandals, I buy Birkenstock. That means I go to Birkenstock.com, no place else, and I buy the Birkenstocks so that I know that they're genuine Birkenstocks. Genuine Birkenstocks come with, it's unmistakable quality. They don't really make shoes like that. The footbed with the cork, yeah. And if I'm going to wear, we call them gym shoes, not sneakers. In Chicago, we call them gym shoes. I'm only going to wear Nike. I bought the Adidas for nostalgic purposes because they're shell toes. And I get them from Nike.com or from a Nike store. Because that's really the only way you're going to make sure you get the best quality shoes. Because you can't have your feet messed up. But I thought those were really cute. So I picked those up. Now, that was my lighthearted stuff. Thank you. Walaikum assalam, Abdullah El Amriki. So love your show. Keep up the struggle. And I'm sure you know we don't do birthdays. Listening. Well, I'm recognizing that I'm turning 43. So who we got? Giovanni says, so glad I wasn't the only one thinking this. We got Artisan, how you doing? We got Double C. We got the Bishop. We got Dr. Michelle. We got Black Jerusalem. We got Miss Audrey. Panda Berries, Quentin, Kalila. We got C. Let's see. We got Dirk Lurkin. We got Third War. We got Sheep. My sister Bruns. Felicia. Sandra. A.L. Let's see. We got Daquan. We got Gigi. We got kind of, we getting a full house a little bit. My mouse is doing something silly. I'm not real sure what it's doing or why it's doing it. Not real sure. But anyway, not going to worry about it. Hey, Fit Feminine, how you doing? All right. So what are we talking about today? Thank you, Ronan. Say A Game Nation. Exactly. All right. So what are we talking about today? This one is going to be a serious one. Thank you, Artisan, for the cash app. Because today we're going to talk about white fatherhood and blackface. Today we're going to talk about the different ways in which they try to degrade, malign, and in this case, as you're going to see, use black men as a cover on fatherhood. The first thing that I want to know is, by show of hands, how many of you are aware of a new Kevin Hart movie coming out called Fatherhood for Father's Day? It's going to be on Netflix. How many of you were aware of that? Because we're going to get into it. But I just want to know if my Crimsonites were aware. Didn't even hear about it. Mm-hmm. See, that alarms me. Thank you, Sheep. That alarms me. Because this is an important movie, but not for the reasons you would think. It has some undercurrents that we're going to draw out today. You were aware, Kalila, that's one out of quite a few. Hey, Mogul. So what I'm going to do first is I am going to read an article about it, short, and then I'm going to show you the trailer for this movie. Okay? So I'm not going to share screen for the article, but I'm going to go ahead and read it. It's rather short. All right. Fatherhood with Kevin Hart headed to Netflix for Father's Day. Fatherhood, a Paul Weitz directed pick starring Kevin Hart, is headed to Netflix on Father's Day. The project was originally set up at Sony Pictures and has had its release date shuffled around more than once. Netflix stepped in and bought the worldwide rights for the movie and will now premiere it in June. Higher Ground Productions, the banner created by Barack and Michelle Obama, will present the film alongside Netflix and Sony. Now, I want you to make sure you heard that correctly now. Thank you, Will Viper. I ain't seen you in a long time. Will, how you doing? Now, I want y'all to make sure y'all heard that correctly. Did you hear that correctly? Let me repeat it. Fatherhood, a Paul Weitz directed pic starring Kevin Hart, is headed to Netflix on Father's Day. The project was originally set up at Sony Pictures and has had its release date shuffled around more than once. Netflix stepped in and bought the worldwide rights for the movie and will now prepare it in June. Higher Ground Productions, the banner created by Barack and Michelle Obama, will present the film alongside Netflix and Sony. Netflix announced today that they'll release Kevin Hart's Fatherhood on the streaming platform on June the 18th, which just happens to be Father's Day. What are the odds? I wonder if they plan that. Hart leads a cast that includes Alfre Woodard, Lil Ray Howery, DeWanda Wise, Anthony Carrigan, Melody Hurd, and Paul Reiser. The film is based on the book Two Kisses for Maddie, a memoir of loss and love by Matthew Longelin. And it is described as a heartwarming, funny, and emotional true story where Hart takes on the toughest job in the world, fatherhood. The book's synopsis offers more insight. Listen to this. Matt and Liz Longelin were high school sweethearts. After years of long-distance dating, the pair finally settled together in Los Angeles, and they had it all. A perfect marriage, a gorgeous new home, and a baby girl on the way. Liz's pregnancy was rocky, but they welcomed Madeline, beautiful and healthy, into the world. Just 27 hours later, Liz suffered a pulmonary embolism and died instantly without ever holding the daughter whose arrival she had so eagerly awaited. Though confronted with devastating grief and the responsibilities of a new and single father, Matt did not surrender to devastation. He chose to keep moving forward to make a life for Maddie. Now, let me just finish before I go in. I'm not sure how faithful the film is remaining to the true story. I'm not sure how faithful the film is remaining to the true story. But this sounds like the type of film that is tailor-made to make you cry your eyes out. So prepare your tear ducts for Father's Day, folks. Paul Weitz directs Fatherhood and co-writes the script with Dana Stevens. Sony originally had Fatherhood and at one point had it scheduled for April 3rd, 2020 release, but 2020 didn't go as planned, and the studio kept shuffling the date. It got pushed to January 2021, then April. Now it will arrive on Netflix in June. Sony will still be presenting the film alongside Higher Ground Production, the production banner created by the Obamas. Now, I wasn't going to share screen, but I want you to see something. Just real quick, just real quick. I want you to see, look at this picture. He's supposed to be Matt Longelin, the guy that wrote the memoirs, which is a white guy. A white guy. But Kevin Hart's playing him. Are we going to get into it? They said, oh, they had it all. Do it look like Kevin Hart got it all right there? He on a whole L. Okay? He on a whole train in the city. I don't know if they call them that everywhere else, but we call them L's. Okay? He looked like he the wealthy father. Just wanted to give you that visual. Just wanted to give you that visual real quick. Now, as it was stated, the movie Fatherhood is based on a memoir of a white guy named Matthew Longelin, or however you pronounce his last name. And the book is called Two Kisses for Maddie, memoirs. It's a memoir. So these are just compiled experiences. We know what a memoir is, right? A memoir is just compiled experiences that a person has had. They may or may not be related to one another. It's like a journal or a diary that is made public. The memoirs. This is not even a book. Now, when I read the article, the key thing is that they said, we don't know how true or how faithful the film is going to remain to the true story. And that's real key. Because what we're going to find out is not much. Now I'm going to show you the trailer so that you can really understand what we're dealing with. And I know my Crimsonites' eyes are wide open. So you're going to see this trailer, hopefully for what it is. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. Going to head over to this trailer. Okay. Want to make sure everybody can see it. Let me take a look, make sure I can see what y'all see. All right. So here we go.
Excuse me. She's been like crying for hours.
Sorry, but this is a group for new mothers.
On that sign out there, it says parents. I'm a parent and I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Girl's got some stuff flying out her ass, so she can either hit you with a streamer or she'll buckshot you. It's a quick whop. I need help.
I don't know how you're gonna do this.
If you could have only one parent, I wish you could have had your mom, because she would have been better at it.
And mommy was the best.
Go to sleep, Maddie. Maddie, go to sleep. Maddie, go to sleep. Go to sleep, Maddie.
It's not working out. She's not a clapper.
Matthew, darling, we think you should move back to Minnesota. You're all alone here. She needs family. Raising a child is a non-stop, all day, all night affair.
You look great. Don't say it just to be saying it. You look like a king. King in a sling.
Wake up, Daddy! How does it look?
I think it's a new look. I think it's a new hairstyle that can catch on if given a chance.
Mr. Longelin, Madeline doesn't have a mother to model after.
I am well aware of what my daughter doesn't have.
You think you can do this, but you can't.
No, man, you're right. I can't do it. But you know what? I'm going to do it because I'm a father.
God, Maddie. Thank God today I got there in time to hold her hand. With Liz, I didn't get to hold her hand. She was gone.
It's always just us. Other people have more people.
I just want to do what your mom would have wanted me to do.
You're trying to make everything perfect. But we don't have any control.
Wherever you are, I want to go there.
Wherever you are, I want to go there too.
Somebody's cutting onions or something close to us or something. I don't know.
Hey, y'all gotta stop it! Oh.
She would be so proud of you.
Two kisses. One for mommy. One for me.
Hold on to me.
Stay close. Don't be scared.
He okay, Maddie? Yeah.
Now, I'm probably going to be sharing my screen off and on, so bear with me. Now, you all saw that. Y'all saw that. Abdullah El Amriki, thank you. It may tug the heartstrings, but seriously, this is not the Black experience. My Crimsonites is already there. Now you might understand the title of this show, White Fatherhood in Blackface. Now, from the surface, you might have people that say, well, what you about to complain about? At least this is a movie that's not portraying black men as thugs or criminals or deadbeats or poor or whatever. All of the tropes and the stereotypes that are attached to black men. We got a movie that's showing black men, a black man as a single father raising his child. Now, the first issue with that is that even though this is not the black experience, this is a white experience, and we're going to go into that, they always got a black family without the two parents. Whether they done portrayed it as a deadbeat dad with a single mother, now they got it where the mama gone. Can't never raise our kids with two functional parents in the household. Did you peep that? Did you peep that part? Always got us in a movie somewhere not being able to raise our kids in the optimal family structure. Thank you, Alex M. Oh, my Crimson Ice is already on it. Y'all already know where this going. Y'all already know where this going. Huh? Now, in order to my rebuttal to the whole thing, well, it's a black father that's not being portrayed in a negative light, and y'all ought to be happy about that. I got a couple of problems with that. The first problem I got is you don't tell me what I ought to be happy about. The fact that you come through with a cornball movie with a black face plastered on it, with a story that's white as all outdoors, and just because you present that to me, throw me a little piece of crust off of a bone you got out the garbage in a movie, now I'm supposed to be happy. Thank you, Master, for giving me an image. Thank you, Master, for putting another image out there. I'm not doing that. Ain't nobody got time for that. You don't get to throw me a little piece of crust of a bone and I'm supposed to be thankful for whatever you throw on that stupid screen. Not to mention that Higher Ground is the Obama's banner and production company that they done got lined up. That's to give it cultural validation, because remember I told you black folk function off of culture. You got this man. I want you to think back to because I'm really trying not to go back to that trailer and break that trailer down. The first part of that trailer was sexist. He came in as a single father looking for help for him and his baby because baby crying. The women in there told him what? This is a group for women. He said, well, the sign on the door said parent, and I'm a parent. What that lets you know is only motherhood has value. See, it's a reason why a black face was put on there, because this movie has been trying to get made for years. And do you want to know who was originally cast for the role of Matthew Longelin? Channing Tatum, a white boy's white boy. Why you couldn't have a white boy up there? Why you couldn't have a white boy up there? Why come he couldn't do it? It's a white man and a white woman. with white friends and a white family and a white baby. Why didn't they want a white face attached to the story of this movie? And why did they change the name of the movie from Two Kisses for Maddie to Fatherhood? Because when Channing Tatum was cast, the title reflected the title of the book, Two Kisses for Maddie. But when they switched everything around and cast it as a black cast, they changed it to Fatherhood. Fatherhood is an extension of what? What is fatherhood an extension of? I need the guys on this one. What is fatherhood an extension of? Fatherhood is an extension of y'all's what? I want to know. I need a little participation, just a little bit. Your masculinity and your manhood. So when it was a white boy, it wasn't talking about fatherhood. It said 2 kisses for Maddie. It tugs at your heartstrings. But when they put a black face on there, now we talking about his manhood. Now we gonna call into his whole question of his whole masculinity and manhood by calling it fatherhood, which they understand biology. I told you they understand biology. They know that a man's fatherhood is an extension of his manhood and his masculinity and his male nature. They know that. Just like motherhood is an extension of a woman's femininity and her womanhood, which is why women will look down on another woman who get to a certain age and don't have no kids. What, you can't have no kids? Even in 2021, in the age of abortions, you will still have women that look at other women and be like, you ain't got no kids, what's wrong with you? I've been the recipient of such looks. So it's tied to your womanhood. It's tied to your femininity that you didn't have any kids. What's wrong with your womb don't work? We'll bust it out in a minute. We'll downgrade a woman in a minute for that. So I can imagine that a man's fatherhood is an extension of his manhood, because that extends through the 4 P's. His provision and his problem solving is protected because he's protecting. See, that don't just apply to a woman. That applies to everybody that he's responsible for, not to mention his kids. Because he's doing what with his children? He's providing for them the provisions. He's having foresight. He's solving their problems. He's protecting them at all costs. You remember the man, this was what, late last year, last summer or something like that? That man that was with his kids at the car dealership and somebody came by and started shooting and he jumped on his kids and took them bullets. Remember that? Now, he didn't die, but he jumped all over them kids and took them bullets. Do y'all remember that? Put a 1 in the chat if you remember that. I believe it was in New York. He was at a car dealership buying a car, and he had his 3 kids with him. And somebody came through and started shooting, and the shots was coming through, and he didn't just duck down himself. He grabbed them kids off of that chair and jumped on them and took them bullets. That's protection. That's the protection of a man and a father who would lay down his life in a moment, in the blink of an eye, for his children. That man didn't think 2 times about what he should do to protect his children. He didn't think about, well, man, I don't want to get shot. I'm sure he didn't want to get shot. Who does? But what he didn't want more than not getting shot himself was to lose one of his babies because he didn't act, because he didn't protect. go get a white man to celebrate black fatherhood. We need to go get a dang on white man. And let me tell you about this man. I'm going to tell you a couple of things about this man. First of all, this little white guy. I'm going to, you know. Thank you, Nuruddin. Said Kendra was in the Bronx, New York at a wholesale dealership with two ninjas started gunfighting. He jumped on top of his kids. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I want to show y'all the book cover. Just real quick. I'm going to share my screen again so y'all can see. Just real quick. I don't know if you can see that. That's him and that baby. 2 Kisses for Maddie. A memoir of loss and love. That's the white man that Kevin Hart is supposed to be playing his life. Matthew Longelin. That's the little baby. I would keep the screen share up there, but I can always go back to it when we need to look at something. We don't need no white man to celebrate the beauty, the strength, the perseverance of black fatherhood. We don't need that. We don't need a Kevin Hart to tell this white man's story. Why come a white man couldn't tell it? I'm going to tell you why they didn't want to let a white man do it. And you know she got her notes. Father Sam said Kevin and him do favor. I'm too done. Now, if you go to Amazon and you happen to look up the book 2 Kisses for Maddie, when you look at the reviews, they talking about he cussing like a man, like a drunk sailor in the memoirs. And I'm going to show you some pictures from the memoirs. We going to see how much of a tearjerker that it really is. He cussing like a sailor in the memoirs. Basically, he opened it up. If you don't like what the F, you don't like F-bombs and blah, 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 you ain't got to read it and all this other kind of stuff. Just littered with profanity. This is a book that's supposed to be such a heartwarming, heart-wrenching book of fatherhood that his daughter wouldn't even be let to read. Because it's got so much profanity in it. This dude is a POS. You know what that stands for. This dude is not a good dude. This is not a doting father, you know, that's just as good at heart. I'm going to show you how good at heart he supposedly is. I want to show you a few pictures because remember I told you the book is not a book. It's not a novel. It's memoirs. And it's basically him traveling around the world with his daughter. Now, mind you, I want you to remember that this man is wealthy. This is not a poor man. He owns his home. After his wife died of that pulmonary embolism after the baby was born, he took off his job that he was working. Okay. Believe he was working at Google. Took off and just struck out. Do that sound like a poor man to you? That sound like a man of means to me. That sound like a man who has some money to me. That said, you know what, I'm just going to throw up both my hands and go ahead on somewhere. Yahoo. Thank you. It was Yahoo. So you took your job off from Yahoo. Your big time, high value man job. And struck out traveling around the world. Seemed like he liked India a lot. Seemed like he liked to go around and take photographs and document the pain and the poverty and the suffering of black men and melanated men and people. Because this is a privileged man. This is not a poor man we're talking about here. This is not a man struggling for money that we're talking about here. If I read the article, this was on the book synopsis. Matt and Liz, that was his wife's name, were high school sweethearts. After years of long distance dating, the pair finally settled together in Los Angeles. And they had it all. They had it all, mean they had the so-called American dream. A perfect marriage, a gorgeous new home, and a baby girl on the way. So we talking about white folk that's living the dream. You're in LA. If you can live the dream in LA, you know you making some money, because California's cost of living is high as a giraffe's butt. Okay? So if you living your best life in LA or any part of California, then you got you some money. Cause you ain't, I'm telling you, you ain't living your best life in California making no $10, $11 an hour. I can tell you that. Cause it's higher than Chicago, and Chicago kind of ain't no joke. So we're not talking about a poor man. We are talking about a very privileged, very well off, not hurting for nothing financially, white man raising his daughter. What kind of struggles do you really think that he's undergoing in fatherhood? Because they say money don't solve all your problems, but it'll let me try. Just let me see. Hand it over to me and let me be the judge and do it, solve problems. Because I bet you I got a few problems that a few dollars can solve. So as a white man, not growing up, but being a single father, suddenly finding himself a single father, he's not in poverty. He got plenty money. He ain't running into a whole lot of struggles in single fatherhood. Because when you have money like that, you know what you can do? Do you know what problem money can solve in a situation where you are a single parent, especially a single father? Do you know what you do when you got a bag and you can just throw a bag at your problems? You hire a nanny. That's what you do. You go through whatever agency that you got to go through, however that process go, and you hire you a dang on nanny so she can tend to the day-to-day, the stuff that you don't have time to do because you're busy making a living and making sure everything is all right. So you don't got time 24 hours out of every day to study poo-poo and tutu because she don't have a mother anymore. So you hire a mama. If you don't have family members that's going to help you around, because if you listen to in the trailer, he's not living with his family, like his mom and father and all that. They're living in Minnesota. What just happened in Minnesota last year? What huge thing that was racial happened in Minnesota? George Floyd was killed in Minnesota. The movie has put a black face on a white man's life. Why on earth would a black man that has escaped? They say Minnesota is one of the most racist states. It is notorious for different policies that are extremely biased along racial lines. George Floyd. All I gotta say. Why would any black man that done made it out of there come back? Because that's what his mama said in the trailer. Why don't you just come back to Minnesota? Who would come back? Boop, boop. Who coming back to Minnesota? Boop. I got out of there. That's like coming back to the projects. That's like me making money and then somebody say, why don't you come back and live in Cabrini Green? Boop. Why would I do that? Why? So there are ironies that seem very, very intentional in this movie. Very intentional. So intentional that even if you don't got a tinfoil hat, you might have a tinfoil headband that you're putting on right about now. You may not have a whole tinfoil hat, but if you kind of got, a tinfoil headband, for the ladies, y'all might have to get a tinfoil ponytail holder. It ain't a hat. Because there are certain things that look mighty intentional. And that's one of them. I'm going to show you a couple of pictures in this man's memoir. I'm going to show them to you. Let me call up these pictures. This is one that I want to call up. I'm gonna get it's 3 that I want to show you. Now, let's start with this one. Can y'all see this? For those of you who can see this, this is a picture. This picture was taken in India. You can tell by the dress and the people. That is a little boy that can't be no more than about 5 years old. He's barefoot. He's behind a group of people. And what is in his hand, this is about as full screen as this. Let me see, can I make it a little bit bigger? That's as big as I can make it. I can't make this no bigger. Let's see. This is a little boy, can't be no more than about 5 years old, and that is what you think it is in his hand. That's a whole gun. And he seemed like he's very determined to do whatever he finna do with that gun. And I only know one thing you do with a gun. And the title of this photograph is called Kid with Gun. Very impersonal. No feeling attached to it. Just a kid with a gun. I'm going to show you another one. These are little pictures. You may not be able to see those very clearly. But what it's a picture of is one man with his hand sticking out of a bus window with a cigarette. It's called Man on Bus with Cigarette. Then if y'all are familiar with buses that be in India, y'all seen them buses that be so crowded, they be on top of it and all on the side of it, as well as inside of it. Y'all seen them before? It almost seemed like a cartoon or something like that, but it's real. They really do get all over the bus to go wherever they're trying to go. I'm sure that y'all have seen that. This is what these are pictures of. It's a bus where the men are all crowded on it and inside of it. And then the next picture, this third picture here, is a bus. I'm not sure that it was the same bus. But this is a bus that was burned out. And it said bus burned during the riots following the death of Raj Kumar. And then there's another picture here, sunset and Virgil reflected on the windows of a bus. Now this bigger picture here says breakfast for Shashi. And this breakfast, quote unquote, it looks like a bunch of what I hope are medical pills. But they don't gotta be. And it seemed like maybe a cup of coffee there, a pack of cigarettes there. And this is supposedly breakfast for someone. Okay? Miguel, I have no restriction on anyone's spiritual base. You may come and listen to your heart's content. Okay. This is in LA. All of these 8 pictures on the side are pictures of homeless black men. Each picture has the homeless man that is attached to the cart. Do you want to know what this POS named the pictures? Y'all want to know what he named the pictures? Put a 1 in the chat. You want to know what he named these pictures. Because this one got the unmitigated gall. Okay? He named them shopping carts. The 8 pictures here that you see on the side. And then the one bigger picture that only has a row of shopping carts with no people, as if the people may have died or the shopping carts are now abandoned. And that was named shopping cart as well. Shopping cart. Not homeless black men, not men with their carts. He does not acknowledge the humanity of the men who are with these shopping carts, whose whole life now, whatever their life was, it has culminated to this point where he has all of his worldly possessions in a shopping cart. The level of insensitivity and cold detachment from the humanity of his subjects is what I'm trying to point out to you. What I'm trying to point out to you is that Matthew Longelin is a piece of walking fecal matter. That's what I'm trying to tell you. And they got a movie with a black man face on it trying to act like he's this doting, wonderful father. When this man enjoyed going around the world depicting and documenting and photographing the woes, the poverty, the horrid conditions, the deplorable conditions of men of color, black men that are in LA and Indian men in India, because they melanated men as well. He didn't go nowhere and depict the poverty of white folk. He didn't go nowhere to the poor European countries to look for white subjects to take pictures of. He goes to the very poor places in the United States, outside of the United States, to take photographs of black men suffering, and does not even have the human decency to acknowledge that there were men with them shopping carts. But he opted to have and agreed to an all-black cast where Kevin Hart is supposed to be depicting him. So he gonna have some humanity with a black face, but he gonna take the humanity from the real live black men that he see in real life. You see how that works? Do you see how that works? He gonna have him some humanity, dang on it, okay? I don't care if somebody polka dot playing him in that movie. You're gonna make him look good in that movie. You're gonna make him seem like he's not a complete piece of walking fecal matter, like I said. So you're gonna recognize his humanity. But he didn't even have the human decency that if you're going to take a picture of somebody in some type of suffering situation or unfortunate situation or downtrodden situation, you at least acknowledge the person behind the image that you're trying to portray. Obviously, he's not the first person to take a photograph of somebody that was unfortunate or a homeless person, but typically speaking, when I've seen photographers do that and then at least acknowledge the person and get them some money, like I use your likeness for my magazine or for my publication, the least I can do for you is give you $100. So and get you something to eat tonight. But he didn't even have the decency to acknowledge the humanity of the people. Not that little boy, not those black men because the shopping carts was the draw. Screw the guys. Who cares about what their life is like and how they got to that point in life? Whether it was mental health issues that got them to that point, or drug issues, or just a series of unfortunate events that got them there. He not trying to tell their story. He trying to tell the story of the dang on carts. Because he want to seem cool and important and like he thinking out the box and like he's some type of avant-garde photographer. Boy, you just a POS is what you are. You ain't really got together no new angle and this is how you see the world. But your perspective is not unique. You walking around with a white privileged mind. That's what you doing. And you just flaunting it around the world. Ooh, baby, look at them. Look at the poor people over there. A human zoo is what comes to mind. You remember the human zoos that they used to put our ancestors in? When we didn't have no value, when we were not seen as human beings, and it was just something to come and ogle. It was just something to come and look at and ooh, did you see the Negroes? You see the poor black people? Look at the poor black people, baby. Look at them. We don't want to be them now, do we? He didn't even acknowledge them. You know he didn't pay them. They wasn't even looking at the camera. He took them pictures surreptitiously and didn't even tell them men that I'm going to make a mint off of your likenesses in my memoir. And you ain't even going to be able to get a Subway sandwich out of it. You ain't gonna be able to get a small cup of coffee out of McDonald's out of it. That's what it was. It was a human zoo to him. Look at the poor Indian people. Look at the poor black people. Ooh, let's get out of here. After you done making your money, that little boy with the gun don't know that he got a picture taken of him somewhere where some white man making money off of him. He don't know that. So why are we going? Yeah, it's like a safari to him. Why am I going over these things? Because you put a black face on it to uplift this dude's image. He needed a black man. This dude was so far down on the totem pole of human decency that he needed a black face in order to make him look better. Do you understand that? Who says this dude was some kind of awesome father? When I'm pretty sure if you had simply asked around, you could have discovered plenty of black men who had inspiring stories of their fatherhood, how they persevere over different obstacles and problems and trials and tribulations to raise their children successfully. Look, they did it with the pursuit of happiness. Now, you say what you want to say about Will Smith, but at least he didn't do this crap here that Kevin Hart is doing. At least we got to see a black father make it. I can't even really watch Pursuit of Happiness because it makes me cry. Because even under those conditions, the love that he had for his son was palpable through the screen. And all of the sacrifices, all of the things that he did in order to make sure I'm going to make a way out of no way for my baby. That's the story we don't get told about our fathers. How they want to make a way out of no way. And not only do they want to, they do it. I can't tell you how many times my daddy made a way out of no way. And I'm through the grace of God. We somewhere hungry. We somewhere don't know how we gonna get our next meal. We know he ain't working. We know this is going on and that's going on. And he leave up out of there that morning. And I don't know what he did or who he did it with or who he talked to or who he saw that day. But when he walked back through that door, he had the money we needed. He had the food we needed. Thank you, Mogul. So you can't tell me about our fathers and that we need to go get some white man and then dress him up like he did such a good damn job of raising his little privileged white baby in a privileged way. Black fathers don't typically get to travel the world with their children. But they persevere over so many obstacles to be fathers to them. My father overcame many of his own personal demons. He wasn't a perfect father. He wasn't a perfect man. But at the end of the day, I understood. And I appreciated him as my father. I appreciated Dad had to go through a lot. He had to go through a lot to be my daddy. I knew that he would move heaven and earth for me. I knew it. Not a doubt in my mind. And I'm willing to bet there are many of us who can say that about our fathers. Because even statistically speaking, black men are better fathers than any other group. I watched my brother be an awesome father to his children. Bending over backwards, making sacrifices, going without so they could have something. Foregoing his dreams and stuff like that to make sure he was facilitating theirs. This is the part of fatherhood in the black community that we don't hear, that we don't want to hear. Let's go to the feminism part of this. This movie is a movie about motherhood, not fatherhood. That's why it's got a black face on it. Because they not going to portray their fatherhood like that. They going to portray black fatherhood like that. All through the trailer, all you heard was him looking up in the sky and talking about the mother that she was. But she couldn't have been no mother because she died. So how is the motherhood of a woman that passed away before she could be a mother trumps the fatherhood of a man that's there every day with his kid? You tell me that. When we got tweets and memes and articles running around talking about should we ban Father's Day because it's offensive to Mother's Day. This is the type of stuff they putting out in our culture. To denigrate black male fatherhood at all times, every time. We got a million songs about mama. I'll always love my mama. She's my favorite girl. You only get one, you only get one. Sadie, don't you know we love you, sweet Sadie? What's the one song we got about daddies? Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. That's the song we got about daddies. That's the song we got about daddy. Papa was a rolling stone. He didn't even know his daddy. He had to ask his mama about his daddy, and that was the story she told. Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, all that he left us was alone. He didn't leave no legacy. He didn't leave nothing for you. He didn't leave you in a better position in life. He didn't leave. This is the song, the most popular song in black culture that we have that represent fathers. When we talk about our fathers, we don't have good things to say. The reverse psychology is astounding. They have, and I'm going to get back to the motherhood thing, but they got this blackface stuff going on with this storyline when the reality of our biology is that they take our fathers from us. With mass incarceration and killing them in the street. They take our father. They took Philando Castile in front of his baby. That's what they think about black fatherhood. And you want to replace this dude with a black dude? And tell a white man's story? They're not telling the black experience of fatherhood. They not talking about all the different things that black men have to face as men and as fathers in this country. Very different from what white men go through. Because white men don't got to worry all the time about being stopped for a tail light that's out, that ain't out. The only positive song about men that I can think of is James Brown, Man's World. And he goes through, and even though I like the song, but in the song's lyrics, he lists all the accomplishments of man and then say, it ain't nothing without a woman or girl. See what I'm saying? And this movie did the same thing. When he walked in there and said, I need help with this baby, the first thing they said, this is a group for women, mothers. He said, well, it say parent. And I'm a parent. So right then and there, having to prove that fatherhood is a parent position and not just motherhood. This was an ode to motherhood because it showed the ineptitude of fatherhood. He was inept as a father. But that's not how it goes in that memoir. He don't say he was inept as a father. But in this movie, they got Kevin Hart like he don't know his butt from a hole in the ground with this baby. Like you can't get no help. Or like fathers don't have parenting instincts. And he's struggling so hard because the mother's not there. Because his fatherhood is too inept to actually raise her properly. Only a mother can raise a child properly. Fathers don't have that capability according to this movie. Right? So we got Kevin Hart playing a white man in this fake story. The story is even fake for the white man. This is not his story. It's based on a true story. Where? How? Then got the little girl talking about, you know what I'm saying, people need other people have other people. So now you trying to say that he would isolate his child away from the rest of her family, her extended family. That's a projection. It's women that when they get bitter or whatever, keep the baby away from the extended family and all that. Men wouldn't do that. A man would not keep his, unless there was a really good reason, a man would not keep the daughter from like the grandparents or the mother's side of the family, even though she passed away. He would try to make sure that you know your mother through them. You're going to know your grandparents maternally. Any aunts and uncles that you have. I'm going to make sure that they know who you are and you know who they are. Because that's how men think. Selflessly. You know I got my notes. I got something else for you. This dude, as we demonstrated, is a piece of excrement. They got Kevin Hart playing a doting father. But didn't they drag Kevin Hart when he said in his real life with his real fatherhood? Didn't they drag him when he was like he ain't gonna really tolerate his son coming out as an alphabet to him? Didn't they drag him for that? Do y'all remember that? Ain't that something? You got Kevin Hart portraying a white man's life so perfectly, but they dragged him for his real fatherhood. There was an extension of his real manhood, because what heterosexual male would want his son, which is a reflection of him, to not be heterosexual? Black men always got to accept their own effeminization, whether it's to them personally or their legacy, which is their sons. He got to accept the effeminization of his son. But they praising Dwayne Wade for doing exactly that. Not only accepting the effeminization of his son, but encouraging it. Yeah, they tried. He was supposed to host the Oscars, and they made a big deal about that. He shouldn't be able to host the Oscars because of what he said about the LGBTQ. Knock it off. So I guess they told Kevin Hart, this is the way you got to make this up. You got to play this white man. Since your fatherhood ain't good enough in reality or otherwise, we going to make you play a white man as a daddy. Okay? That's the only way you can be a good daddy, is if you play a white man as a daddy. Because only white men are good at being fathers. Right? We gonna ignore the fact that we have a system set up to take black fathers biologically away from their children. So that the children's biology can be affected by the absence of their fathers, and then their culture can be affected by the absence of their father's influence. And their environment can be altered without the presence of their father's willingness and ability to oppose the environment. So they maligned his own fatherhood. Kevin Hart's fatherhood wasn't good enough. But he good enough to play a white man in a movie about fatherhood. And the title of the movie was changed to Fatherhood. Who else had a book entitled Fatherhood? Who had a book? Who was America's dad? Who was the face of fatherhood in America? Who? I want to see do y'all know. Who was the face of fatherhood in America? Bill Cosby. Dr. William Cosby have for decades been America's dad. He was the face of quintessential fatherhood. Both doting, responsible, clear leadership, soft enough to deal with the women in his family, stern enough to raise a son. He had enough affluence and wealth that he wasn't making his family struggle financially. And he was with his wife, Claire Huxtable, throughout all of the children's lives without missing a beat. Had a book named Fatherhood, where much of his stand-up comedy was about fatherhood. If you go back and look at old Bill Cosby stand-up, especially post Cosby Show or during the run of the Cosby Show, much of his routine, his stand-up routine, was centered around parenting and manhood and family. People got mad at him for the so-called infamous pound cake speech, but did he lie? Was he wrong? Because what he was doing was being America's dad. He was talking to the general body of younger black males about values, about having a value system of their own. This is why they erasing Bill Cosby. They erasing his legacy with this. They taking his fatherhood and throwing it in the garbage because they've effectively canceled him. First, they tarnished his legacy. They tarnished his record. They tried to erase his fatherhood by killing his son. You remember that? When his son was found shot, Enos? Then they tarnished his legacy. They tarnished his image. No longer was Cosby to be seen as a wholesome black male patriarch. Got to get rid of that image, because what it was starting to do was affect the biology positively. They put it out in the culture, and then it began to affect biology positively. Because black men did what? Black boys did what? Started looking up to that image and saying, if I don't have that in my life, then I should be that when I get older. I should be that. I should have strong leadership qualities. I should have a value system. They don't need black men starting to think about biocultural. They don't need black men doing that. So not only it wasn't enough that Cosby got too old to be, doing comedy shows. The Cosby Show had been off the air. He living his life with his wife and stuff like that. And then he started making moves, because I guarantee you, I ain't never heard him say it, but I guarantee you Bill Cosby understood biocultural. I bet you any amount of money that he understands that. He was trying to buy NBC, which would have been controlling media, and media is filed under culture. He knew that black people, through his run for the Cosby Show and the impact that it had on college applications and entries, graduations, and attendance to HBCUs and things of that nature, through not only the Cosby Show, but its spinoff, A Different World. The children of that generation was like, man, we can make it. We can do something other than what's going on in our environment. We don't have to be products of our environment. Do you understand what that means? When you're a product of the environment, that means you're allowing the environment to influence your biology rather than the environment conforming to your biology. That's what it means. I'm a product of my environment. That means the environment shaped my biology. And he was trying to buy NBC because he know that his people work from culture back to biology. He know that. But he also understood value systems. Do you know what type of media that he was going to be pushing through NBC had he been able to purchase it? Thank you, Ruminant Melanoid. Said when he tried to buy NBC, he would have definitely changed the image of black men and they couldn't have that. Exactly. So we have to understand that Bill Cosby knew about the interplay between biology, culture, and environment. And he was trying to sway it in the way he was trying to meet black people where they were. And where we are is putting a lot of onus on culture. So he was trying to come at us through culture, like he did the first time with the Cosby Show, if that wasn't a trial run for him, to see what effect could he have on the generation watching that show. And it was positive overall. Because that's my generation, Gen X. I grew up watching the Cosby Show. We enrolled into colleges because of that. Now, I didn't go to a HBCU, but I went to University of Illinois at Chicago. One of the best universities in Illinois. I think it's right up under U of I in Champaign, Urbana. Because we hadn't seen that many of our fathers was falling prey to the crack epidemic during the run of the Cosby Show. This is why we watched it. Because we got to see, at least on television, a black family that wasn't struggling underneath the crack epidemic and poverty and jail. But they couldn't let him do that. So now they tarnish his image, throw him in jail on what I presume to be bogus charges. Because I don't believe that. And even if it was a little something going on, what was this in the 60s? If y'all don't knock it off. Then you had Janice Dickinson, old Fear the Walking Dead looking self, talking about he did something to her. You don't even remember what you ate yesterday. How you remember something went on 40, 50 years ago? All that coke you done sniffed and pills you done popped in your heyday. It's a wonder you remember your name. Now all of a sudden she can call back the details of an event of a party from 1958. Girl, if you don't stop. Sitting somewhere looking like Steven Tyler. Her and Steven Tyler can pass for twins now. I know y'all know who Steven Tyler is. Aerosmith. That's who she looked like. Done threw the poor man under the jail. Trying to make him go to sex offender therapy. He said, no, not doing that. You take the last bit of my dignity. No, that admits guilt. I told you I didn't do that. So now I'm not going to start doing stuff that tacitly admits guilt. What, you think I'm stupid? I'm not stupid, I'm just old. too old for this fight now. That's why they got him at the age they got him. They wouldn't even get him in his 50s and his 60s. He had to wait till he get to his 80s and stuff. So you can't tell me they not trying to low-key erase Bill Cosby's legacy. I'm going to speak on something else, and maybe I should save this for a video and maybe not. But I'm going to speak on something else too. Y'all want me to speak on something else? We're going to talk about stepfathers and fatherhood. We're going to talk about all the aspects of black fatherhood today. Y'all want me to talk about stepfathers today? Because I got something that I think I need to say about that. Like I said, maybe I was thinking about saving this for a video, and I may still. I don't like the narrative about shaming black fatherhood in any of its forms, whether it is biological fatherhood or stepfatherhood or mentorship or any of those different phases where men train and cultivate boys into manhood. I'm getting real tired of that one. Because the vitriol for that is outweighing the positive impact of it. The vitriol part is that you're scared some woman somewhere is going to, by proxy, benefit from you either helping her raise her children, or not even that, you're simply mentoring them, or you are in a position to help them. You so scared it's going to be some woman somewhere that get a little sliver of benefit, and you might not be able to clap them cheeks, so you ain't going to help the boy. Yet in a space for black men that's supposed to be helping black men and black boys be something and do something better than what's been going on the last 60 or 70 years for black boys and black men. Too long have we allowed them to dictate to us what kind of fathers we should honor, what kind of fathers black men should be, or what kind of father they shouldn't be. When I'm here to tell you right now, I have watched the men of other ethnic groups not only raise in certain situations where they married the mother, But even children that aren't missing their fathers, if a man knows something, a skill that the boy father don't have, that man will teach that boy that skill. Or they will teach that boy that lesson. Or they will teach that boy some other part of his burgeoning masculinity and how to handle it. And they first teach that boy a value system, or they enforce the one his father has placed into him. Then they reinforce it by culture. Then through having a village, through having a community based on them, they reinforce it by environment. And thus the little boys in their group, whether those boys had a functioning father, didn't have one, something was going on, whatever the case may be, they're trying to mitigate the damage of their boys falling through the cracks so that their communities can remain strong, because it cannot remain strong without functioning masculinity. And only the men can teach that. The women, no matter how good they are not able to teach that. This is why in other cultures, a mother who may have gotten divorced or her husband died, they marry her. It ain't because of her. It's because they understand that if we do not preserve the biology of these young little boys and the girls too, that our community will suffer down the line. And it's my job as a man of this community that belong to this community to do my part in making sure that doesn't happen. Can't save every single one, but we gonna try to save as many as we can. And they don't have shame and language for that. As a matter of fact, it's something that they will applaud, because they understand how hard it is for a man to take another man's seed and actually raise them. So they understand how a man will struggle with that. But he overcomes it for the good of the group. We can't continue to allow other groups to dictate to us what we should and should not do on a biological level with our children. They have denigrated black male fatherhood long enough. There's no celebration of fatherhood. There's no true recognition of black fatherhood. There is no real pedestal that these men are put on, or not even if you're just not putting them on a pedestal. You're not even saying, you know what? Let's really get together and celebrate these men. Fatherhood always got to be joined by something else. They don't attach motherhood or Mother's Day to anybody, but they attach Father's Day to one other event that happens in June. What do they attach fatherhood with? It's something else that happens in June in this country. And there's a little phrase that is meant to depict it, and they attach fatherhood to it. They attach Father's Day to it. What's the other thing? grads. Folks graduate. Dads and grads. Not fatherhood on its own. Not the merit of fatherhood by itself. And saying we're going to celebrate fatherhood not attached to nothing else. Graduates can get their own celebration. They got their own celebration. Motherhood has its own whole thing. You got to buy flowers and you got to take her somewhere and you got to spend a fancy dinner and you got to buy her outfit and you got to take her on vacation. Daddies get maybe a little raggedy little piece of tie or some corny little gift that he's supposed to be happy with in bootleg recognition. Just an offhand recognition. Yeah, okay, Daddy. Happy Father's Day, Daddy. No. We used to take our daddy out to dinner and stuff. And just spend time because that's what he wanted. So we gave him what he wanted. He wanted to go somewhere with us. He wanted to, his favorite thing was going to breakfast. He didn't really like going to dinners. But he liked going out to breakfast and stuff. So we would try to pick a nice place. He would get his version of dressed up. My daddy's version of dressed up was pressed jeans, cowboy boots, and a button-up plaid shirt. That was his dressing up. That was about as dressed up as he was going to get. And his hat. Put his hat on. Cool as a cucumber. And then he want to spend the day with us. He wants us to put whatever we doing away and spend the day with him. And that's what we would do. We would get together and say, we're going to take daddy somewhere. Wherever daddy want to go, that's where we going to take him. You know what we wanted to do this year, but he passed away? We wanted to take dad for one last time we wanted to take him to the Indy 500 because daddy liked racing. He liked drag racing. He liked funny cars. He liked the muscle cars. And me and my sister said we gonna, if we can make it, because it was canceled last year. We was gonna do it last year. But you know, the pandemic hit and we couldn't do it. But we was trying to do it because we didn't figure he would last to this year. So we wanted to do it last year, but we couldn't because everything was closed. But that's what we wanted to do. We had planned it out. We said we gonna go pick daddy up. We gonna let him know, daddy, we going for a ride. Get you, and we ain't gonna put no pressure on him. We gonna have the money. I got the car. We was gonna make a big picnic thing and rent a room, rent a couple of rooms out in Indianapolis, and we was gonna take him to eat, and we was gonna have our sandwiches and this and that, because it don't take about 2.5 hours to get from Chicago to Indianapolis, right? 3 hours at best. And we was gonna have our little stuff, and he would have enjoyed that so much. I know he would have. He just would have been grinning from ear to ear with that. We just couldn't do it because of environment, right? That was the only thing that stopped us, because we had planned it out. We said, okay, Indy 500 is at this, this time, and we gonna have everything together. And we was gonna take him to the Indy 500, because we hadn't been there since I was a little girl, and I know he loved it. We gotta start seeing the value of fatherhood in our communities. Black fatherhood is something to be celebrated, and we too easily put it on the back burner and don't pay it no attention and take it for granted. But how could we take it for granted when the world tell us that we don't have fathers, that all of the black men is deadbeats, all of them need to be put on child support, and if they can't pay that, they need to be put in jail? How can we take it for granted when we do have our fathers? Why would we take for granted his manhood? Why would we act as though his provision and his problem solving and his protection don't mean nothing? What do we get out of that? What has that done for us? How has that served us? It hasn't. We putting up all these banners for Mother's Day when half these chicks don't even care about their baby. I just did a video earlier today. This chick feeding her baby, hemp hearts and dang on seeds and all that. This is a newborn. We got chicks out here don't even love their kids, don't even want them. Then we got fathers that will want nothing more than their children. All they want is their children. And we so quick to dismiss our men as if they don't love their children because we so busy following a narrative about it. We so busy taking them to child support courts. We so busy running them through the ringer. We so busy using their kids as pawns against them. And that shows how much of a cap it is. Because these chicks running around here talking about daddies ain't no good and don't care about their kids. If you really thought that, then you wouldn't be able to use the child as a pawn. You doing that because you know it hurt him. Because if you didn't think he cared nothing about them babies, you wouldn't be able to use them as pawns because he didn't care. And yes, your nieces and nephews count. If you don't have children of your own, but you got nieces and nephews that you can influence and stuff like that, then all of them is your family. They definitely count. We got to be able and willing to help each other in the capacity that we can help each other. Maybe you don't got it in you to actually be a stepfather, but do you know how to weld? Do you know how to do plumbing work? Do you know how to do electrician work? Is it something that you could teach a young black boy coming up? This is how you make money with your hands. Once you get the knowledge, can't nobody take it out of your head. I'm going to help you get into mechanic school and become a certified mechanic. When I go to the mechanic shop, you want to know how much they charge per hour? Want to know how much your basic mechanic, not a specialist, you want to know how much a basic mechanic in your average car X chain make per hour? You know how much he charges for his labor no matter what he's doing. It doesn't matter how big the job is or how small it is. You know how much his starting charge? $70 an hour. 70. Folks is struggling with $10 and $12 and $13. You become a certified mechanic, you have a right to charge at least $70 an hour for your time and your labor. And that might be on the low end. That's why your car repair be so high. because you paying him for his labor. The labor sometimes costs more than the part and the work. But he can charge that because he went somewhere to learn that skill. If we understand how important fatherhood is, we would never downplay it or make it like it's small. Because it's not small. There are those in here that are fathers, and there are those in here that love their fathers, grown or children. And there are some of them in here that have lost their father. When I lost my dad, I lost a lot. He wasn't just some old man that I didn't care about, that didn't mean nothing. He was a man that had 70 years of life to pass on to me, of experiences and things he learned, mistakes he made, triumphs he had, victories he had. All of them meant something. It meant something to me because it meant something to him. He was trying to do what a father do, is pass on something to his children. So you don't make the mistake I made. You don't got to fall in the pitfall that I fell into. So I'm going to teach you what I learned about falling into there and getting out of it. So that you don't even have to experience that. I want to teach you about how a man loves you as my daughter, so you don't have to get into relationships that fail with men who take advantage of you, or men who abuse you or treat you badly. Because you know how to be treated, how it feels to be treated well by a man, because I'm gonna do it. When it comes to our fathers, we have to stop letting perfection be the enemy of good. Stop looking for them to be perfect. They're human beings, prone to mistakes like any other. But if he your dad and he love you and he's trying to do the best he can by you, that means something. If you grown and you don't know who your daddy is, and your mama sitting there talking about, I don't know why you want to learn, why you want to go see him, find him. And you formulate your own opinion about it. Thank you, Mr. Super Smash. Thank you for the cash out. ML, I don't like saying your real names, so thank you for the cash app as well. And thank you, Mr. Zeke. We got to have more for our dads, man. Because black men have so much that they struggle against. So many things piled up against them. And if you got a dad that's really trying to shield you from the world and do what he can, how he know how to be a dad, man, give him some slack. Give him the benefit of the doubt and try to meet him halfway with it. His fatherhood is as good as, and in some cases better than, her motherhood. That's a false narrative that we got to get rid of among us as black people and among us as black women. We got to stop thinking our motherhood is somehow infallible and unassailable. Because many of us fail as mothers because there's no father there, because you ran him off. And we put our children in such a detrimental place. Fathers understand things about the world that your mother never will. Even if she was for the streets. I think that's all. This Father's Day special was brought to you by A-Game, a male herbal solution with 21 wonderful herbs. Thank you, Panda Berries. That addresses a man's overall health by addressing his blood circulation. That blood circulation, if you know what I mean. So if you want to become part of the A-Game family, and ladies, if you want the men in your life to become part of the A-Game family, it's super simple. All you got to do is go into the description box, click the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com, and you get a 10% discount using the code Kendra10. That's Kendra, the number 10. And that is how you get a box of A-Game on its way to you, so you can become part of the A-Game family. Okay? I want to thank everyone for coming through. I want to thank everyone for participating, for the super chats, for the cash apps. Now I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. And I'll catch you guys on the next one. Bye-bye, Crimsonites.
Hey guys, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. And if you've got more to say on the topic, leave a comment down below. Also, don't forget to support our sponsor who so graciously supports this channel by clicking the description box and the link for A-Game at agameherbal.com. You can go ahead and get a 10% discount off of your next purchase using the code Kendra10. This has been yet another Crimson Cure production, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.